All right. Um, so we are live again, and
Good evening,
welcome
ma'am.
back. Good evening, Yukta. Good evening, Anusha. Welcome back
Good
to you guys
evening.
for a brand new session.
Hi, Yukta.
Okay, so go with me. Lost go with them a few minutes earlier. Let's hope he joins back in. Um, okay, so right. Yesterday, you guys, we started the week with a fun way to learn vocabulary, right? We did some activities. We learned some new ways or new tips, correct? So we discussed how we can build up on our existing vocabulary and also utilize it. Plus, we also learned how to expand that vocabulary even further, correct? So, learning synonyms, word association, there were many other tips, guessing the word before you immediately jump onto Google and search that. So, these were some of the tips that we discussed so that you have a better vocabulary and a functioning vocabulary, something that you will remember at the right moment and at the right time in a conversation, correct? Right? I gave you some. I think yesterday when we discussed a few words, I asked you try to make sentences out of it. Try to create statements out of the words that we've written down. Right? Uh, were any of you able to do that? I hope you were able to do that. Um, I hope you spend some time on building this vocabulary because it's not just going to happen with simply speaking. There has to be a little bit of background work separately. Okay, so try involving in those activities, whatever activities that we are doing, whatever examples that we are taking. Try in working on those same things after your session is done or over the weekend when you have some extra time or some free time. Okay, so that whatever you're learning over here is strengthened by the practice that you do on your own as well. Okay, all right. Okay. So now today we are going to introduce another aspect to our conversation techniques. Okay. So far we have we have been doing pretty basic level of conversation, and where our main goal was to speak for a longer period of time and last longer in a conversation, right? Now we are going to add some more meaning into the conversation and learn some techniques where we can have different kinds of conversation. Last week we started that off, but at a very basic level, right? We started off with practicing about speaking with friends, right? Or having a simple conversation with your friend, making plans, or speaking to a customer care executive, where the conversation usually is not that difficult. It's usually pretty simple, right? So it's more situational. Today, what we are going to do is we are going to add or learn another element of conversation that is agreeing and disagreeing with somebody in a conversation or in a discussion. Okay, all right. So more often than not, whenever we are having a conversation or a deep discussion about something, and when few other people are involved in the conversation, we end up either agreeing or disagreeing with them, right? Okay. And the problem or the difficult or the tricky part of agreeing or disagreeing with somebody is that interrupting somebody else and trying to speak then, or trying to speak in a way or trying to agree or disagree with them in a way so that it doesn't affect the other speaker, okay, or they don't feel bad that okay you have interrupted or you're not listening to them or something like that. So the only part which is tricky is handling the other person who is who's speaking or is involved in the conversation, and accordingly responding and changing your responses according to what other people are saying. Okay, all right. So today, what we are going to do is we are going to try and learn some phrases with the help of which you can try to do exactly that, agree or disagree in a conversation. You can sometimes partly agree and partly disagree in a conversation, right? But you can utilize some simple phrases which can help you do just that during the conversation or discussion. Okay, all right. Okay, so before we learn the phrases to do that, there are some basic etiquettes, basic discipline of doing such things or carrying out an interruption or agreeing or disagreeing with something. So, somebody. So, one or two points about those basic etiquettes I'll discuss. Okay, please remember that whenever you are involved in a group discussion, okay, or whenever you are involved in a conversation with a group, okay, so first of all, first basic etiquette or first basic discipline of talking in a group is that you wait for the right moment and you wait for your turn. You all have, I'm sure you have listened to news debates that are telecast live on news channels nowadays, right? Have you ever listened or have you ever seen those debates?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So have you ever seen how chaotic they are? Nobody is giving each other the chance to speak. Nobody is understanding what they're speaking. They are not able to, the audience is not able to understand what they are speaking, who is speaking when. The person who is carrying out that debate or the person who is the mediator of that debate, he is not able to control his speakers, his or her speakers, right? So it's a very chaotic situation, and that is exactly what we should be avoiding in a group discussion. Okay, so everyone should wait their turn. First of all, try to find the right moment to pick up your conversation and wait for your turn, and wait for your turn when either when you're addressed or when you are asked a particular question specifically pointed to you, or say that okay, let me add something over here, or let me put in my point over here, right? So wait for the other person to finish and wait for your turn to speak. Okay, basically find that right moment where you think that you are not speaking in a chaotic, you are not joining the chaos that is already happening. Okay, and if you see that there is already a chaos happening in the conversation, try to bring it down. Try to say that okay, let's give everybody a chance to speak, or let's not make it chaotic. Okay, let's all calm down and speak one by one. If you feel that there is a chaos happening in the conversation, you can always be the person to tell everybody else to calm down and speak one by one. Okay, all right. So that's the first step of speaking in a discussion or being part of a group while speaking. So that's first point. Second, if you do interrupt somebody, for example, what happens is we also sometimes get, the energy of the group or the conversation is such that sometimes we get excited that no, 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 let me speak, let me ask, let me tell you something, let me tell you another. We get excited as well. We are part of, we become, we become part of that energy which is high on the topic that is already going on. But if you do that, be prepared with your point. Sometimes what happens is we are just excited to interrupt somebody. Okay, and then the moment we interrupt, we forget what we were about to say. Okay, so try to avoid that. Always be prepared with your point and only then start speaking in a group. It shouldn't be that you only wanted to speak one single sentence and then that's it, and then you are out of the conversation. Okay, it shouldn't be like that. Understood? So always be prepared with properly prepare your point, whichever you wish to say, which whether you want to agree, whether you want to disagree, whether you want to give some advice or suggestion, right? Be prepared with your point and only then interrupt somebody or then start speaking in a group. Okay? Understood? Yeah? All right. Don't forget to say please or thank you in between. Okay. If you do interrupt somebody, if you do say that, okay, let me speak, and then you do get a chance, do thank the other person who stopped for you to speak. Okay. Thank you, Anusha, for giving me this opportunity. If it's a formal discussion, of course. Okay. If it's a casual discussion, of course, no need to do that. But usually, when we are in a formal discussion or if something really serious discussion is happening, do take that opportunity to thank somebody, or say that, can you please let me speak. So say please and thank you wherever needed. Okay, don't be afraid to say that, or don't be shy to say that. All right, or don't be embarrassed to say that. You can always be polite and take that opportunity to say please and thank you in between. Understood? Yeah. All right, these two three points are clear. Okay, now the next step or next points or next tips that I want to share is about how to actually agree or disagree or put in a point across a particular group in a conversation or a discussion. Okay, all right. So for example, if you remember, last week we took a topic, or before that I think we took a topic about advantages and disadvantages of technology, right? We had that conversation earlier, and I mentioned that this is an opportunity to express your opinions, right? That time I gave individually each member of the conversation some time to speak. What if it was a discussion, and say for example Yukta was saying that I completely disagree that we are too dependent on the technology. I feel that no, we are making really good use of technology, and it is making life easier for us. But immediately while Yukta is saying all this, Anusha gets a point that no, I don't think she's right. I think we are too dependent, right? So if you want to interrupt over here, or if you want to say for example agree with her point, or interrupt and say that, you know what, it's absolutely right, we are not too dependent on this technology, we are actually making really good use of technology. If you wanted to agree with that, you could use phrases after Yukta finishes her sentence. Immediately after, you can pick up by saying, you're absolutely right. So if you want to agree with something, you can say, you are absolutely right, or I completely agree. Or you can say, I firmly agree with this. I most definitely agree with this. Okay? Absolutely. 100% correct, or 100% true what she said. Exactly. That is exactly the point that I'm trying to make. So these are some very basic phrases with which you can pick up the conversation. If other person is speaking and you want to pick up the conversation from there, you can use such phrases if you want to agree with them and pick up the conversation from there, and then you want to continue the conversation. Okay, all right. So you can also say, I think so too. You know what, I also think the same way. I think we are not too dependent on technology. I think technology is making life very easier for us, right? Then you can give your other opinions and other explanation. Whatever she has mentioned, you can say something else. If you have another point, you can mention that. You can say, that's a very good point, Yukta, I think I agree with that too. Okay, or you can say, I see what you're getting at. I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree with it. Okay, or I see what you're saying, I see where you're getting means I can understand the direction that you are taking, and I agree with that direction, I want to continue from there. Okay, so you can pick up from there. Okay, all right. So I see where, for example, if somebody is giving some reasoning that, no, I feel that technology is not making us dependent because of this. So when they have given examples like that and you agree with that, you can always say, I see where you're coming from. Where you're coming from, in the sense, I see, understand where your thinking is coming from. Okay, understood? So these are some really good phrases which are conversation starters if you're agreeing with somebody and you want to stress on that. Okay, what happens if you're starting with your agreement? For example, if I mentioned, okay, Yukta, tell me, do you think we are too dependent on technology? Or do you think that we are not too dependent on technology? Okay, so if you wanted to start the conversation with agreeing something, you can say that I I believe that I agree with the point that we are not too dependent on technology. Okay, or you can say you firmly believe, or you are very stressing on it and you strongly believe something. You can say, I firmly believe that no, we are not too dependent on technology. Okay, you can also say, in my opinion, I do not think we are too dependent on technology. Okay, so in my opinion, I believe, I firmly believe, I firmly agree, I strongly agree, I agree with this statement, I agree with what you said. Okay, or I think so too, I feel that no, we are not too dependent. So these are good phrases to start the conversation where you're agreeing with somebody. Okay, all right. And if you are interrupting somebody and then agreeing, then you can use those other phrases which I just mentioned earlier. Okay, I think so too. That's a very good point. I think you are absolutely right. All those different phrases. Understood? Yes. Okay. All right. Now, agreement is definitely easy because, and people will give you the chance to agree with them because you are in on their side and because you are supporting them. Correct. Disagreement is something which is a little tricky, and sometimes where people don't take that disagreement very easily. Okay, right? So when you're disagreeing with somebody, you're actually challenging what they're saying. Correct. That is why it becomes a little tricky. So how to do that without being rude to them, or without showing disrespect to what they're saying, that oh no, you don't know anything, I don't agree with what you're saying. Now that is disrespect. They are entitled to their opinion as well. Correct. Right. Just like you have your opinion, they are also entitled to have their opinion. So how to disagree with somebody without being rude or offensive or disregarding what they are saying? How to do that? You can say that, for example, if you wanted to start with disagreement, right? You can say, in my opinion, I don't think we are or in my opinion, I think that we are definitely too dependent on technology. So you use the exact opposite of the sentence. Okay. Another way, or you can say is, I completely disagree with whatever statement that you made. Okay, I completely disagree that we are not too dependent on technology. Okay, or you can say, I simply disagree. Okay, or you can say, um I understand what you're saying, but I do not believe so, whatever the other person has said, right? Or you can say, yes, what you're saying is right, but you add other points of disagreement. Okay, you can say, I don't really agree with what you're saying. You can also say, I see things rather differently. Okay, so another way of disagreeing, I see things rather differently. You can also say, that's one way of looking at it, but I also feel there is another side to it. Okay, you can say, as far as I am concerned, I don't agree with what you're saying. Okay, you can also say, I am afraid, but I seem to have a different opinion. Right. So these are some good ways of showing your your disagreement. Okay, without actually offending somebody or being rude to somebody or disrespecting what they are saying. Okay, understood? Yes. All right. So today what we are going to do is, I'm going to give you a topic. Okay, we will do we will open the conversation for everyone. Okay, and we have, say, four participants right now. Okay, I want you guys to engage in a conversation, in a civil conversation. Don't make it chaotic. If anyone feels it is becoming chaotic, I've told you, Try to become the mediator and try to calm the conversation down. Okay. But today, what we are going to do is we are going to have a discussion amongst you people, and we are going to see if you are able to express your opinion clearly, give reasons to why you have a particular opinion, express your agreement and disagreement with the topic. Okay, all right. Even if you say you partially agree and partially disagree, mention that specifically. Always make your stand clear first. Whether you agree or whether you disagree, whether you partially agree or you partially disagree, mention that stand first. Clear your stand first, that this is where I stand, and then start the rest of the discussion or explanation. Understand? Okay? Yes? This is all clear. So, everyone ready to have a good discussion today? Yeah? All right. I do hope everyone is audible. Govardhan and Kashish, can you switch on your audios and videos so that we are able to have a better conversation with you guys? This is going to be a discussion. So let's keep our audios and videos open on, and we'll try to interact with each other. Okay? Can
Good
you
evening,
guys?
Yes,
Samyukta.
sure.
Hello.
It is
Hello.
there's no background noise from Govardhan's side.
Hello.
Govardhan, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Govardhan? Okay, so there seems to be a problem with Govardhan's audio and video. Kashish, can you hear me? Am I
Yes, ma'am,
audible?
I can hear you. Yes, you are.
All right. So, Kashish, if you follow the conversation, try to be part of the discussion. All right. And if you have any doubts or queries, do let me know. Okay. Okay. So, today's topic of discussion is online learning. Okay, now I think we are all part of it. In fact, what we are doing is online learning right now. Okay, and this is something that has definitely come into light in the at least since the past 1 year. Definitely on the rise, something that we see more prevalent nowadays. Correct. So I want you guys to discuss about e-learning, whether you think it has advantages, whether you think that's a good thing, or whether you think that no, we are still not prepared for it. We still has a lot of challenges. Online learning is still not the main way of learning, okay, or main channel of learning. Okay, so try and discuss both sides of it, pros of online learning and challenges of online learning. Who thinks you, which one of you supports online learning, which one of you doesn't necessarily support online learning entirely, right? So try discussing in that way. All right, and try to share your opinions first and then give example. Don't give example as your opinion. Okay, remember the kind of discussion that we had previously, right? Don't give examples as your opinion. Give proper opinion, give proper reasoning behind that opinion, explain why you think that way, and then give an example if you want to support what you feel. Okay, and try to use the phrases that we discussed. If you're interrupting somebody, if you want to add on and support somebody else's point, use the phrases that we have discussed today. Okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
ma'am.
All
Sure.
right. So the conversation is open. Online learning. Do we like it? Do we not like it? Do we think it has advantages? Do we think that no, it doesn't necessarily add more any value? Let's talk.
Okay, shall I start?
Yeah? Open
Mm,
conversation.
okay, my first opinion is education is very important in today's world. However, online learning platforms is not so effective as classroom. I opine that the online platforms or online e-classes are not so effective as much as the classroom learning sessions The reason I say this is it is really difficult for the students to concentrate and sit in front of the laptops or the mobiles for such a long period. The focus which they put on the big blackboard in the classroom is very very effective when compared to the focus what they keep on the e-screen on the screens.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why do you think that way? Why do you think that it helps concentrate better?
The reason why I feel so that online learning is not so effective as classroom learning uh, is sitting for the long time in front of the screens will really strains the children, drain out the children. It strains children's eyes, students eyes for sitting such a long time. So it is difficult for them to focus on what teacher is saying online on the screen. uh, Second point is for a younger children who just starts the education, it's difficult for them to to accustom
Start
or to
One second. Who have just started the education, not
who
starts the
whoever
education.
whoever just started the education, it is really difficult for them to understand the classroom environment and who is the teacher, what is she, what would be her roles and responsibilities, and how they should react to the teacher, and the bonding between the teacher and the student, which is very very important in the education system, is being disturbed due to this online due to this online classes. So I open that the classroom learnings is much productive and will yield a good results when compared to the online learning.
Who else wants to add to this?
Actually, Anusha was right, but I think I disagree with her because during this Corona time, COVID time, actually, it is better to stay in home and better to better to learn the classes in from the mobile phone or any electrical appliances. Uh, Actually, it is so the teachers are also available, and the exams also conducted to this uh, through the phones. Actually, I was in this week. Actually I was writing my exams in this week, and it is much easier compared to the schools, as we have to take some precautions while going to the school, and it's easy to write it in the home as they were available in the mobile phones.
What other benefits do you think there are of online learning?
Actually, ma'am, the teacher or students can stay they can stay in any place of their choice, and they can get their they can get their notes or classes uh, through the teacher to them, ma'am.
I totally agree with that, and I totally understand from the point where you are coming from. Considering the current pandemic situation, we have left with only an online education studies, which is totally agreeable. Yeah, it is something like something is better than nothing. That's the choice we have chosen now. Considering the current situation, I totally agree with you. However, in the education system, if we consider it, I feel like online education is not as effective as the classroom studies. Yeah.
Yes, I do agree with you, but it's not effective as much as the offline classes which are going in the classrooms. But during this COVID time, I think the online classes were much preferable than the offline classrooms.
Right. What about Kashyap? Kashyap, do you want to add something to this discussion?
Okay, yes, ma'am. I think online classes have both advantage and disadvantage. Uh, like students can't concentrate, and the conversation between the teacher and the student is not that in online classes that was in the offline classes,
Okay.
because teacher don't know the who is listening and who is not listening. Peoples are switch off the camera and doing something else. So the main thing is that teacher can't see our reactions, that we are talking, if we are in a class, then teacher can understood by our reactions, face reactions, that who is listening and who is not listening and who is gossiping. And in online classes we don't know who is gossiping with others and using WhatsApp and, and something else. So I think there are advantages, but in this corona situation, COVID situations, I think there are advantages, because we have no option other than this, because we can't stop education. So the only we can do is online classes, but there are some disadvantages too. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any points to add? You agree with me, Swati?
Adding to what Kashish is saying, while the online education has uh, pros and it own pros and cons. One important point, what I would like to bring here, disadvantage, what I would like to bring here for the online study, online education is especially for the parents who have young children, like 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. It is a additional job to the parents to make child sit for the online classes, and along with the child, parent has to invest that much of energy, as much as teachers are also putting it. So
Hmm.
it is not a optimum utilization of resources to actually, because teacher is investing so much of time and energy for preparing the notes, engaging the kids, making them learn. At the same time, parents are also investing so much of time along with the children to make sure the child sits, listen, learn what teacher is saying. So it is not a good idea, or it is not the optimum usage of resources, I can say. Multiple people are investing so much of time and energy. So especially for the younger children, I prefer no classes instead of online classes.
What do you say to this, Kashish? Whatever Anusha mentioned.
Oh, sorry. No, I don't agree with you, Anusha ma'am. Sorry, but we can't stop education because the age of students are increasing, right? Because I mean, a 3 year child don't know anything, as he or she is 3 years, he don't know ABC and whatever. Like the children's children learn at a smallest age is much affected than that we learn in the younger age. I think we learn more in when we are young as compared to when we learn elder, and we don't forget what we learn young when we are younger. And I think education can't stop, we can't stop education in this
I
COVID
totally, yeah.
Very
situation.
good
Oh,
point
sorry,
made
in
by
this
Kashish,
COVID.
actually. He made a very valid point. That we can't, just because it's inconvenient in some way, we can't stop education, right? Who wants to add? Yukta, what do you want to add to this, or whether you agree with the previous?
Yes, ma'am, I agree with Cassius, ma'am. But whatever we learn from the small age or the basics, that we can that were the basics for every classes. That will become the basics for every classes, and we should not miss the basics. So I agree with Cassius, ma'am.
No, this wasn't clear. Whether you agree with her or whether you're adding on to it, it wasn't clear.
I
Make
agree
your
with her,
point.
ma'am. I agree with her, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
So I listened what Yukta and Kashish are saying, and I totally agree. Education is very important, but I really don't agree. A child of 3 or 4 years who never went to school or seen this school environment will accustom to this system which is happening right now. She don't the a child don't know what a classroom means, what should be done in the classroom. She don't know what is the teacher, who is the teacher, what should what is the responsibilities of teacher, or how should she or he should react to the having said that, it is highly impossible for a child of such a young age to really accustom or to sit in front of a laptop or a PC for such a long time, 2 or 3 hours. And uh, and I don't think so it is fruitful also, because they don't have a basics at least to understand what teacher is saying. They starts with A, which is very new to them, so they don't have basic, they don't have that background experience to accustom to this system. So sitting for the long time will not yield any result.
Okay, all right. Okay, Govardhan has joined in. Govardhan, can you hear us? Do you want to add on to this conversation?
Yeah, yeah. Good evening, Samyukta. I understand what are they said. I can understand. Yeah, as you said, today's session on online classes. Is it right?
Right. So we are trying to have a discussion on online learning, whether
Yes.
it has more benefits or whether it has more challenges.
Yeah. Actually, I'm also classes. Why? Why? Because actually, online classes is not useful at a time because may, because why are they going to online classes? Children, parents have not observation on children, so that time they convert to other things, on other things like video games, uh, online frauds. They're
Not just
converted to them.
Govardhan,
So
can you hear?
my I disagree with. Hello.
Okay, so the right world will not be convert, it will be switch to other things or other apps or games or something like that. Okay, it will
Yeah.
not be
Okay.
convert.
Okay. 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 uh, they will switch to other things, on other things, as I said, video games, PUBG games, and online shoppings. They are using their parents accounts without permission from parents. So I don't want to agree, I don't want to agree with online classes.
Okay, all right. Okay. How will you guys give a conclusion to this? So what? Let's do one thing. One by one, I want you to go. I want to go around. Okay, and one by one, each of you will give a conclusive statement. Give some conclusion. Give advice if you want. Give some suggestions if you want. So we all agree and disagree with some parts of it, right? So, what's the solution or what's the next step? Do you think it has a future? Do you think it does not have a future? Use that and conclude accordingly. Okay? Give a conclusive statement one by one. So, Anusha started. So, Anusha, give the conclusive statement first.
Listening to the all everyone's opinion, what I strongly feel is online education in this pandemic is suggestible only in this pandemic, because we don't have an offline system now. However, this is not suggestible for the younger children who has not experienced the school before. Instead, this can be suggested to the people who went to school, who knows that environment well, who can at least children who can sit by themselves, listen to the classes and do the work by themselves is suggestible. The reason why I'm not suggesting for the younger children is, as I said in my discussion, it is the investment of double resources, a time of two persons and 2% time and energy. Instead, what we can do is parents themselves can take care of their children, making them understand and learn. For this is for younger children, I'm saying, make them understand and learn in their free time in a what we'll say, in a good way. It's not like a classroom kind of thing, in a jolly way, in a attractive way, during the free time. So this will be an entertainment for the child, something that goes into his or her mind, and also it will not be like a stress for a parent to make her child, his or her child, to study. For you, however, for elder children who were able to manage their work by themselves, it is a good platform during this pandemic. Virtual learning is recommended.
Okay. So quickly, if I ask you the best thing about online learning and the worst thing about online learning, can you give me two statements like that?
The best thing about the online learning is, as Yukta said, anyone can learn from any place depending on their convenience. The worst part about the online learning is it is an easy way to get distracted.
Okay.
Easy way
All
to
right.
get distracted. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Anusha. Yukta, your conclusive statement.
Yes, Anusha ma'am, I actually agree with you. We don't have another option in this pandemic other than the online classes. But I hope we'll soon have the online offline classes. And and I and the suggestion and the suggestions I would like to give is the elder children can know how to concentrate on the studies, like listening to the teacher, and know how to do their projects or activities which were given by the teacher. But the younger children wanted their parents or their elders to they wanted the elder or their parents help to do the activities or any works given by the teacher. So
Work, not work. Okay.
that's all I would like to share, ma'am.
So same question for you. Best thing and worst thing about online learning?
Ma'am, actually, online learning is the best thing, ma'am. Actually, in this pandemic, we are able to stay at home, and we are able to by staying home only we can get our classes. And the worst thing about the online classes is, ma'am, actually the teacher cannot concentrate on the children, because the children will switch off their video and audio, and the teacher don't know what they were doing exactly, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Yukta. Kashish, your conclusive statement. What would you like to say in conclusion?
Okay, yes. So as I said, there are both advantages and disadvantages. So I think in this pandemic, the online classes is a good option, but because we can't stop education, as I said, and this is the only option we can do, and that's
Not
it.
we can do, not we can use or utilize.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, we can, yeah,
Or the only option that we have.
yes.
Okay. So if I ask you the best thing about online learning and the worst thing about online learning, what would you say?
Okay, so on that point I agree with Yukta. What Yukta said, as it is the safest way of learning, and because life is more important.
Okay. Oh, I think we lost Kashish suddenly. No problem. Let her join in once again and we'll see. Okay. Let's speak to Govardhan. Govardhan, share your conclusive statement.
Yeah, I'm. What did I say before that? I'm stand on that. Uh, I fully support to offline classes because why? Because offline classes is a create a good environment to children. Like they can do with they can create own friends. They can choose the what is the required. So and this thing, online classes is first of all is the more expenses to parents. And second thing also, we can we cannot trust on online classes. It is yeah, it is continuously it will happen. I don't know, but we can't trust the online classes. Yeah, I'm go with offline classes, because for this pandemic situation we can't sorry, children can't to study for these 2 years. For next year also, after next year also, we can children can go to school, and as usually they can continue their studies. They will continue their studies, so that is the not a problem. But this pandemic situation, we chosen one option for online classes. For example, parents also can teach to their children. They can buy their books. They can teach to children. They can learn. They are learn to children. They are teaching to children. For example, before said Anusha ma'am, 3 years, 4 years old people, old children. The online class is very important. But my opinion is, for 3 years to 4 years children, parents can teach to them. Even 10th class parents also, 10th class knowledge parents also study. They can teach to apple 1 to 10. They can teach it. So not required online classes for from three sorry, not required for 3 years to 4 years children. That is my opinion.
Govardhan, I do not think that Anusha said that online classes are necessary for 3 or 4 year children. I think he
This is
disagreed
my
with
opinion.
what, yeah,
Okay,
he
I
dis-
want to interrupt Govardhan.
mhm. Go ahead, Kashish.
First of all, yeah, please tell me.
Kashish, go ahead. We can all hear you. Um, okay, I feel there's some technical issue with Kashish's audio. Uh, okay. What I'll do is I will close the conversation for now, okay? Because I'm not getting any other point from you guys. And after the interruption, I think it's best that I conclude the conversation. Okay, so thank you all of you first of all giving your full participation in this discussion. Okay, all of you did really well in terms of participation. All of you contributed. You gave your opinions. You shared what you feel. You shared what you think. Whether you agree, whether you disagree. You engaged in an interaction back and forth with each other. So that was all good, and that is how you should have a conversation politely in a decent way. Have a discussion with each other whether you agree or disagree with each other or not. Okay, so very well done on that. Good job on each one of you, on part of each one of you, that you all contributed your points properly and in the way we just discussed before this discussion began. Okay, so very well done on that. Now, a few pointers for each one of you. Okay, things that were positive, things that I feel you should work on even more. Okay, so good things were that you use the phrases that we discussed. Okay, so whether you are in agreement, whether you are not, whether you are in disagreement, you all use the phrases that we talked about. Anusha used that. Okay, I see where you're coming from. So that was a complex phrase that we discussed, and that was a really good usage of that. Yukta also said that, okay, I agree with you, Anusha. So pointing out somebody's name and then telling them that I agree with you, or I completely understand, or I think what you're saying is correct, or I stand by what she said, right? So when you point out somebody's name, that's a very good way of addressing and supporting somebody else, plus adding on your own point. So that part was really good. Then Govardhan also mentioned his points. You gave your opinion as well. So good job on that. Uh, you did not use the phrases which we discussed with with respect to the agreement or disagreement, but I feel that you missed out that part of the session. So do go back and check out this video on Facebook or YouTube, and listen to the phrases that we discussed, go through the sessions, go through the first part of the session, and then once again try and see if you can pitch in the similar way or not. Okay, so that was one point for you. Okay, now things that I want you guys to work on individually. Okay, so first of all, Yukta. um Okay, so Yukta, you use the word actually a lot. You almost start every single sentence with the word actually. So this word has become like your filler word, a word that you rely upon. If you don't seem to recollect anything else, or if you're not able to think of anything else, the most a common word that you use, or most often word that you use, is actually. Try limiting that word, or try some different other words. Okay, all right. Okay, so try limiting the use of actually. Don't start your every single sentence with the word actually. Okay, so that's one point for you. um okay, Anusha, choice we have chosen. Okay, this was one phrase. There were few other errors like with respect to has, have. Okay, so go back and listen to that. There were a few errors which you made with respect to where to use has, where to use have. So pay attention to that. For singular you use has, for plural you use have. Okay, so pay attention to that. So singular plural, this was just one example, but there were other singular plural errors. So pay attention to that. Okay, so children's or people's, there were a few repetition of that. So make sure you don't repeat that. Children and people are plural on their own, so no need to add s after it. Okay, and choice we have chosen. Since you're already using the word choice, you will say choice we have made, or the choices we have made. Okay, all right, not choice we have chosen. Okay, so that's one point for you. Okay, for Govardhan, when you say that you disagree with somebody, try, instead of saying I don't want to agree, a better way of saying is I don't completely agree, or I do not agree, or I disagree, or in my opinion, I don't feel that is entirely true. Use phrases like this. Try to avoid saying I don't want to agree. Okay, I don't want to is not a very good way of expressing disagreement. Okay, so use other phrases that we discussed, or something else on your own. But I don't want to agree. That's not entirely appropriate way of saying it. Okay. And one point for everybody: if you are saying that, I, whatever I said, I support that point even now, even after this whole discussion, even in the end of the discussion, or whatever, even after hearing what everybody has said, I agree, or I support whatever I said earlier. You can say I stand by it. So whatever I said earlier, I stand by it. I stand by it means your stand is the same. You agreed in the beginning as well, and you agree in the end as well. You disagreed in the beginning and you disagreed in the end. Okay? So if you want to specify that, you can always use the phrase I stand by what I said. I stand by. Okay, that means you support what you said. You are still holding that same position. Okay, so I stand by what I said earlier, or I stand by what Anusha said, or I stand by what Yukta said, or I stand by what Govardhan said. Okay, understood? So if you want to specify that what they said and you support it, or what you said earlier and you still support it, you can use this phrase. Understood? Okay. Another point that you should all remember is, when it's time for conclusive statements, don't start a new conversation there. Okay, so don't start, for example, Govardhan, you started giving other multiple examples in that conclusion statement, right? So when you give more examples like that, it starts a new conversation again. Okay, however, what we're doing is we are trying to conclude the conversation. So bring all the points together, whatever you said, whatever everybody else said, bring it all together and try to give it a conclusive tone. Okay, if you start giving other examples or you start a different conversation, then it opens up the topic again for discussion. Okay, all right. So try avoiding giving multiple examples or multiple explanations during conclusion. In conclusion, you should all bring it together, give a one or two point suggestion if you like, or an advice if you like, or just summarize whatever you have discussed earlier and put it all together and then conclude. Understood? Okay? Yeah. So this is all clear. How to carry out a discussion and how to agree and disagree within a conversation. Okay. So what we did was we shared our opinion, we stressed on our opinion, and we agreed and disagreed with each other in and interacted with each other in a conversation or in a discussion, right? Okay, so every kind of situation has a different way of, I mean, we have a different way of carrying it out. Okay, so what today we did was a specific way of conversation, agreeing or disagreeing with somebody in a discussion or in a group. Okay, so that's something that we discussed, and I hope that everybody understood how to carry it out in future. Of course, this had a little bit more formal tone, right? Because we are on a different platform, we are discussing with different people or different group of different set of people. The setting of this conversation is a little formal, right? Of course, formal conversation, formal discussion will always be have a formal tone like how we did today. But even in casual conversation, casual discussion, maintain the same level of discipline and maintain the similar level of etiquette at least. Okay. Even in a casual conversation, there are a lot of things that you can implement what we from what you learned today. Okay. Maybe the language will be a little bit more casual. Maybe the way you're addressing each other will be a little bit casual. But maintain the same decorum, maintain how you discussed today calmly, the maintain the calm that you had to in today's conversation. Even when you were disagreeing with somebody, you maintained or you gave that person respect, you did not disrespect, you were not rude to them, right? So maintain these other points of etiquette that we followed today in a casual discussion as well. Okay, understood? Yes. So this is all clear. Any doubts, any queries? Sure. Okay, good. All right. So let's stop here for the day. I'm glad that all of you were able to contribute, and all of you contributed immensely. It wasn't that only one person is speaking for a very, very long period of time, and only other person is just saying, yes, I agree, no, I disagree, right? So all of you contributed well together, and you all stressed on whatever opinions you have. One small point, by the way, with respect to content that you were sharing, right? One small point before I end this session. All of you discussed only from the point of view of school online learning or schooling, online schooling, like our proper grades that we have, first to 10th or first to 12th, professional learning. You did not consider the online learning part of the kind of classes, for example, like we are having. Right. Okay. So that aspect of online learning nobody discussed, and I feel that should have been discussed. Okay, considering that we are all part of it as well. It's not just schooling. We are all somebody's taking art classes, somebody's taking music classes, somebody's doing workout classes, right? So we are not just learning in the school mode, right? We are also learning in a different way. Correct, we are also learning or a whole different set of activities, a whole different set of skills. I feel that entire discussion, that entire area of discussion was not discussed by, was not touched by anybody. Yeah, and I feel that should have been a really important part of your discussion, considering that the discussion is happening on such a platform where we are learning a new skill, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
everybody discussed with respect to schooling, but that was just one side of it. This was another whole new area of discussion. Maybe next time, if we circle around a similar topic, we'll try to have a conversation on that. Okay, but this shows the how we need to have awareness of the topic as well. The moment we hear a topic, we shouldn't jump immediately to what comes to our mind. Think about it. I mentioned that always be prepared with your points, right? So think about the points that you wish to say and then start the discussion. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So good job everyone. Let's come back tomorrow. Once again we'll take up a new topic, we'll take up a new activity, and we'll see how that goes for us. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
All right then, bye for now. Good night everyone.
Bye. Good